Hello everyone! Today I am going to be reading you a story. It's one of my absolute favorite books. I've loved it since a kid, and it's Chrysanthemum by Kevin Henkes. He is the author and the illustrator, so he drew all of these pictures. Isn't that pretty cool? But today we are going to be reading this book, and it's about a little mouse named Chrysanthemum. She goes to school for the first time, and people aren't so nice to her. We're going to learn why. So we're going to read Chrysanthemum. And I have the permission to read this by Green Willow Books by the publisher. Okay, we're going to start it off. The day she was born was the happiest day of her parents' life. She's perfect, her mother said. Absolutely, said her father. And she was. She was absolutely perfect. Her name must be everything she is, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew, and when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written in ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on a birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with her fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect, and then she started school. On the first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile. She ran all the way. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum, school! But when Miss Chudd took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. Don, Eve, Louis, Al, Les, Kay, Max, Sue, Bill, Pat, Tom, Sam, Ken, Joe, Rita, Victoria, and Chrysanthemum. Notice how her name's written off on the side. It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria, and you're named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Miss Chudd that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. Thank you for sharing with us, Victoria, Miss Chudd said. Now put your head down. That's not very nice, is it? If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said, as the students lined up to go home. I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag. I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, your name is beautiful, and precious, and priceless, and fascinating, and winsome, said her father. And it's everything you are, said her mother. Absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with ketchup, and an evening filled with hugs, kisses, and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed her name was Jane, and it was an extremely pleasant dream. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper and walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote. She even looks like a flower, said Victoria as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita, pointing. Let's smell her, said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, "A chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in the garden with worms and other dirty things." "Thank you for sharing with us, Victoria," Miss Chudd said. "Now put your head down." "I just can't believe your name," Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. "Neither can I," thought Chrysanthemum miserably. "Welcome home," said her mother. "Welcome home," said her father. "School is no place for me," Chrysanthemum said. "They said I even looked like a flower and protected to pick me and smell me." "Oh, pish," said her mother. "They're just jealous and envious and begrudging and jaundice," said her father. "Who wouldn't be jealous of a name like yours?" said her mother. "After all, it's absolutely perfect," said her father. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream frosting, and another night filled with hugs, kisses, and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed she really was a chrysanthemum, and she sprouted leaves and petals. Victoria picked her and plucked her leaves and petals one by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. She loaded the pockets up with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route to school as possible. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. "Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum," the flowers seemed to say. That morning, the students were introduced to Miss Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was something out of a dream. It was like everything else about her. The students were speechless. They thought Miss Twinkle was indescribable. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. Miss Twinkle led the students in scales and then assigned roles to the class musicale. Victoria was chosen as the dainty fairy queen, Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess, and Joe was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger. Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy. "Chrysanthemum's a daisy, chrysanthemum's a daisy," Joe, Rita, and Victoria chanted, thinking it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. "What's so humorous?" said Miss Twinkle. "Chrysanthemum," was the answer. "Her name's so long," said Joe. "It scarcely fits on her name tag," said Rita, pointing. "I'm named after my grandmother, and she's named after a flower," said Victoria. "My name is long," said Miss Twinkle. "It is?" said Joe. "My name would scarcely fit on a name tag," said Miss Twinkle. "It would?" said Rita, pointing. "And," Miss Twinkle said, "I'm named after a flower, too." "You are?" said Victoria. "Yes," said Miss Twinkle. "My name is Delphinium Twinkle, and if my baby is a girl, I'm considering Chrysanthemum as a name. I think it's absolutely perfect." Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed, she beamed, she bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Joe, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. "Call me Marigold," said Joe. "Call me Carnation," said Rita, pointing. "My name is Lily of the Valley," said Victoria. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. Here's the epilogue of the story. I'm going to read it for you. Overall, the class musicale was a huge success. Chrysanthemum was an absolutely perfect daisy. Victoria made the only mistake. She completely forgot her lines as the dainty fairy queen. Chrysanthemum thought it was wildly funny and giggled throughout the entire dance of the flowers. Eventually, Miss Twinkle gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and of course, she named her Chrysanthemum. Now, what did you guys think of that story? Did you think it was very nice how they treated Chrysanthemum at the start of the story? And notice how they changed after the teacher thought her name was absolutely beautiful. I think that story is great. It's been my favorite for years. And again, it was Chrysanthemum by Kevin Henkes. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this book.